Do you feel mucus stuck right here in your chest, throat, or deep inside your sinuses, no matter what you try?
Enemy. But when it becomes thick, sticky, and trapped, it turns into a serious problem. Today, I'll show you powerful natural ways to thin mucus, clear your lungs and sinuses, and fix the root cause, not just the symptoms.
One of the most effective yet overlooked therapies for mucus is salt, but not eating it, breathing it.
This is called halotherapy. A device known as a halo generator breaks salt into microscopic particles and releases them into the air. While you sleep, this salt air travels deep into your lungs, sinuses, and throat. Salt naturally thins mucus. It is antibacterial, antifungal, and anti-mold. It helps loosen mucus so your body can finally clear it out.
If you don't want a machine, a neti pot is another option.
It flushes the sinuses directly using saline solution and can provide immediate relief. Here's something most people completely miss. If your home has mold or mildew, it can keep your lungs permanently filled with mucus. Many people notice that when they change locations, their sinus congestion disappears within days. Sometimes the environment, not your body, is the real cause. From a nutritional standpoint, certain natural compounds are extremely powerful. Oregano oil helps fight bacteria, fungi, and viruses. Garlic acts as a natural antibiotic, but one of the most powerful tools is fasting. A 48 to 72 hour fast, once a month, can activate a process called autophagy. Autophagy allows your body to clean up old damaged proteins, deactivate viruses, remove microbes, and reset your immune system. If mucus is caused by a mix of viral, bacterial, and fungal issues, olive leaf extract is another powerful option to consider.
Clearing mucus isn't about suppressing symptoms. It's about restoring balance in your lungs, your immune system, and your environment.
Fix the cause, and the mucus disappears on its own. If this video helped you, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who struggles to breathe. I'll keep bringing you science-backed, natural health solutions to help you breathe better and live strong. Chronic mucus in the lungs or sinuses is not just uncomfortable. It reflects changes in airway hydration, inflammation, and immune activity. Conditions like asthma, chronic bronchitis, COPD, sinusitis, and sleep apnea often share one underlying problem: impaired mucus clearance. In this video, we'll explore scientifically supported methods to improve mucus flow, airway function, and immune balance. Mucus is a protective biological gel produced by epithelial cells. Its function is to trap pathogens, pollutants, and allergens. However, when mucus becomes dehydrated or excessively thick. Ciliary clearance slows down. This leads to mucus retention, airway obstruction, and increased susceptibility to infection and inflammation. In respiratory medicine, hypertonic saline aerosols have been studied for their effects on mucus rheology. Salt particles attract water through osmotic pressure. This increases airway surface hydration and reduces mucus viscosity. Halotherapy devices disperse dry sodium chloride particles into the air, which are inhaled into the upper and lower airways. Research suggests saline exposure may. Nasal saline irrigation is well documented in Yenti medicine. It mechanically removes allergens, biofilms, and inflammatory debris, while restoring nasal mucosal hydration. Regular use has shown benefit in chronic sinusitis and post-nasal drip. Chronic mucus production is often environmentally driven. Indoor mold releases spores and mycotoxins that stimulate continuous immune activation. This results in persistent mucus secretion, even in otherwise healthy individuals. Environmental remediation alone has been shown to significantly reduce respiratory symptoms. Certain bioactive compounds have documented antimicrobial properties. Oregano oil contains carvacrol and thymol, studied for antibacterial and antifungal activity. Garlic provides allicin, known to modulate immune response. Periodic fasting activates autophagy, a cellular recycling process regulated by MPK and mTOR pathways. Autophagy helps remove damaged proteins, reduce viral persistence, improve immune efficiency. Olive leaf extract contains oleuropein, which has demonstrated antiviral and antioxidant effects in studies. Chronic mucus rarely has a single cause. It is often a combination of airway dehydration, microbial imbalance, environmental exposure, immune dysregulation. Addressing all contributing factors leads to long-term symptom improvement. Effective mucus management is not suppression. It is restoration of normal airway physiology. When clearance improves, inflammation decreases, and breathing becomes effortless again. If you value evidence-based natural health education, subscribe for more science-driven respiratory and immune insights. Long-term improvement in lung and sinus mucus clearance requires far more than short-term remedies or isolated interventions. While temporary relief can often be achieved through medication, sprays, or acute treatments, sustainable improvement depends on restoring the normal physiological environment of the airways and supporting the interconnected systems that regulate inflammation, hydration, immune balance, and tissue repair over time. Chronic mucus retention is rarely a standalone issue. Instead, it is a visible outcome of ongoing disturbances within the respiratory ecosystem. These disturbances commonly include low-grade airway dehydration, persistent epithelial irritation, altered microbial balance, and repeated immune activation that fails to fully resolve. When these factors coexist over months or years, mucus gradually becomes thicker, more adhesive, and increasingly difficult for the body to clear naturally. One of the most underappreciated yet fundamental components of effective mucus clearance is the presence of adequate airway surface liquid. This thin layer of fluid coats the respiratory epithelium and allows the microscopic hair-like structures known as cilia to move in a coordinated, wave-like pattern. Cilia are responsible for transporting mucus upward and outward, carrying trapped particles, pathogens, and debris away from the lungs. Without sufficient hydration at this microscopic level, even structurally healthy cilia become sluggish and ineffective. In dehydrated airways, mucus thickens, ciliary motion slows, and clearance becomes impaired, leading to accumulation and congestion. This is why consistent exposure to clean, humidified air, along with adequate systemic hydration, plays a central role in long-term respiratory recovery. Overly dry indoor environments, particularly those created by heating systems, air conditioning, or poor ventilation, can silently worsen mucus retention even when other treatments are in place. Equally important is the role of nasal breathing in maintaining airway health. The nose is not merely a passive air inlet. It functions as a sophisticated conditioning system that warms, filters, and humidifies inhaled air before it reaches the lower respiratory tract. Breathing through the nose reduces the drying effect on the lungs and limits direct exposure to airborne irritants. Chronic mouth breathing, whether due to nasal congestion, sleep-disordered breathing, or habit, bypasses this protective mechanism and exposes the lungs to cooler, drier, and less filtered air. Over time, this can contribute to epithelial irritation and excessive mucus production. Encouraging nasal breathing during both daytime and sleep, where possible, is therefore an important but often overlooked strategy for reducing chronic respiratory irritation. From an inflammatory perspective, repeated exposure to airborne irritants plays a major role in sustaining mucus hypersecretion. Common irritants include household dust, outdoor air pollution, cigarette smoke, cleaning chemicals, fragrances, and volatile organic compounds released from furnishings or building materials. Even in individuals without a formal diagnosis of respiratory disease, chronic low-level exposure can trigger ongoing epithelial stress and immune signaling. Goblet cells within the airway lining respond by increasing mucus production as a defensive measure, reducing cumulative exposure through improved indoor ventilation. Strategic use of air filtration and minimization of chemical irritants can significantly lower the inflammatory burden placed on the respiratory system. In many cases, environmental modification alone leads to noticeable improvement in symptoms, highlighting the importance of addressing external contributors rather than focusing solely on internal treatments. At the immune level, chronic mucus is frequently associated with an overactive innate immune response rather than an unresolved acute infection. The immune system may remain in a heightened state of vigilance, continuously producing inflammatory mediators that stimulate mucus secretion. This persistent activation is often influenced by lifestyle factors such as poor sleep quality, circadian rhythm disruption, and metabolic imbalance. Sleep, in particular, plays a crucial regulatory role in immune function. Inadequate or irregular sleep has been shown to increase levels of inflammatory cytokines, which directly stimulate mucus-producing cells in the airways. Aligning sleep patterns with natural circadian rhythms, prioritizing sufficient rest, and addressing sleep-disordered breathing where present can therefore have a meaningful impact on long-term mucus regulation. Nutritional status also influences epithelial integrity and immune signaling. Micronutrients such as zinc, magnesium, selenium, and vitamin A derivatives are involved in tissue repair, antioxidant defense, and immune modulation. Deficiencies or marginal insufficiencies can impair the body's ability to maintain a healthy mucosal barrier, making the airways more susceptible to irritation and excessive mucus output. Rather than relying on high-dose supplementation, a consistent intake of nutrient-dense foods that support epithelial health is generally more sustainable and physiologically appropriate. Nutrition should be viewed as a foundational support for recovery rather than a rapid corrective tool. Metabolic interventions such as fasting or time-restricted eating have gained attention for their potential effects on immune regulation and cellular maintenance. When used appropriately, these strategies may reduce chronic immune activation and enhance cellular housekeeping processes, including the removal of damaged proteins and dysfunctional cellular components. However, they should be approached as supportive tools rather than universal solutions. Individual health status, existing respiratory conditions, and metabolic resilience must be considered. For those with established lung disease or complex medical histories, gradual implementation and medical oversight are advisable to ensure safety and effectiveness. Another critical long-term factor is microbial balance within the upper airways. Emerging research suggests that the nasal and sinus microbiome plays a role in regulating inflammation and mucus production. Recurrent antibiotic exposure, environmental disruption, and chronic inflammation can alter this microbial ecosystem, favoring organisms that promote biofilm formation and persistent mucus retention. Biofilms provide protective environment for microbes, making them more resistant to clearance and contributing to ongoing immune stimulation. Gentle strategies that support mucosal health and microbial balance, rather than repeated aggressive antimicrobial suppression, are more likely to produce lasting improvement. Ultimately, it is essential to recognize that chronic mucus is often a signal rather than a disease in itself. It reflects the body's attempt to protect and adapt to ongoing stressors within the respiratory environment. When airway hydration is restored, epithelial irritation is reduced, immune signaling normalizes, and environmental exposures are addressed, mucus production typically decreases naturally. The goal of long-term management is therefore not constant treatment or suppression, but restoration of normal function. By supporting the respiratory system as an integrated whole, it can return to its natural state of efficient clearance, low inflammation, and effortless breathing. This systems-based approach represents the next step beyond symptom control and forms a durable foundation for lasting respiratory health.